this myself. So you want someone who knows you. I can't tell you how many times I have a student that comes, asks me for a rec letter, and I don't know them, and I just tell them, I'm sorry, I don't have anything to say about you. You got a 92 in my class, and that's all I can say, right? So start now, especially the younger group. Now go to your office hours. If for no other reason, just start working the game, right? Get to know these people. It's more important that you have someone who knows you than you have someone with a big name. We're a university with big names. But if there's a TA that you worked with very, very closely, that rec letter oftentimes means more than a vague sort of abstract, not personal one from a big name. It's nice to have the big name, but because you're allowed 4, make sure you at least have 2 or 3 that are very personal. They can say something about you. Because that big name is probably writing rec letters for 20 other students. And just to tell you guys, to be honest, a lot of them just like search for your name and replace it with a different name, same letter for every student. So personal is better. And how to make it personal is giving them a lot of information. The best thing that students do with me and my colleagues is they give me a folder, including their resume, their personal statement, a little write-up of what they'd like in the letter, which sounds sort of snarky, but very good idea, right? Tell us what about you is special so I can write something good. Write up something to remind us about what you did in our class, what you liked about our class. And it should have an envelope that is stamped and labeled out, so all this person has to do is write the letter, stick it in the envelope, and send it off. Right? Having it together like that is such a great reminder for a professor, especially if it's been a semester or 2, about what a great responsible student you are. Those are the students that get that extra little paragraph from me talking about how organized, on top of things they are, and how they're going to be not just a great academic student, but like a really professional person to have at this law school. And that means a lot, right? Because that's the thing that your transcript and resume doesn't show. And that's what these personal statements and the rec letter. Every school you are interested in, right? It shouldn't matter, but if they know your face or they know your name, it makes a difference. I mean, I even do this. I wish that I didn't, but I do, right? When I'm going through applications, I just can't help it. If I see someone, I realize that they've come to my office 3 or 4 times and they're really excited about law school, it does make a difference. And so go to the schools that you're interested in. Campus visits, so important. You have to balance this with not being annoying, right? So don't email these HR personnel like once a week asking about your application, right? They'll get to you when they can. You don't want to ask about their application. You don't want to ask about what sort of GPA do I need to get in, because all that's available on their stats page. The questions you want to ask are things like, hey, are there any events coming up that I would maybe be able to sit on or guest lectures, right? Don't ask the school, what do I need to do for you to let me in? But instead, like, how do I become involved in your school because I'm that excited about you? It's amazing. It does a lot for, for the admissions people. So do make school visits. Because interviews are an option for us, you have to force yourself into that school and into their minds. Medical schools all have interviews, and we don't have that luxury as lawyers. And it's super important, right? I mean, lawyers are speaking in public, so they should have interviews. Doctors just... The thing is that you want to have a theme, just like your resume, but not your resume, right? A theme going through your personal statement. The worst thing you can do is write the why I want to go to law school personal statement. Don't do it. Don't do that, all right? It doesn't make you, even if it's a really good version of it, it's a really good burger. Instead, what you want to do is make like a really awesome like blue cheese souffle, right? Something that's unique. You don't just want to make a good burger. Themes and stories are fantastic. Anecdotes are good, but they have to be done well. It's really, really common for people to open up their personal statement with a paragraph about a story, right? How, they were walking down the street and they saw someone who was homeless, and through this exchange, they had an epiphany and decided they wanted to go into public interest law. Okay? These are good stories, but you realize, I just said one on the spot, because I've read that story 75 times, just this year. Right? So, if you do an anecdote, it needs to be unique to you. Not something that could have happened to anyone. Anyone can walk down the street and, unfortunately, actually, see a homeless person, right? It needs to be something that's unique for you. Something that they'll remember about you, that's important. The other thing is that you need to be subtle. You don't want your personal statement to just be a repetition of your resume. First I went to law school and I joined these clubs, and this is what I did in that club. And then I went to study abroad and I was here and I went to this university and I took these classes. No, right? Your resume says that. You want to deliver information about yourself without just being like, I'm responsible and hardworking. Instead of saying you're responsible and hardworking, tell us a story about how when you were in a club and one of the executives, not in this club of course, dropped the ball on something and you stepped in and you helped out. Because that says that you're responsible and that you take over and that you're hardworking and that you're a leader without just listing that off, right? Admissions officers are pretty smart people and they can figure out what your talents are without you just laying them out. In fact, the subtlety is very much appreciated. Alright, now one rule of thumb for personal statements is the theme of them should either be an obstacle that you have overcome or an improvement that you have made on the world. Those are the good ones, right? Now, an obstacle that you've overcome should end on a positive note, right? We don't want negative personal statements. And on that note, don't ever speak bad about anyone ever. So if you write a personal statement about how you were on the street and, I don't know, like a Cubs fan started yelling at you and you hate Cubs fans, maybe your reader is a Cubs fan, just be careful. Don't ever say anything negative about any group of people ever. Okay, so obstacles that you're overcoming or improvements that you're making on the world. Those are the winners, but again, they need to be specific and have a theme. An obstacle that you've overcome cannot be something like, man, transitioning to college life is hard. It's hard to be on your own. Because it is, and I'm not at all trying to say that it's not, but that was an experience that almost every other applicant has had. So a unique obstacle, or a unique improvement. Better to hear it from me than the admissions officers, so I'm just blunt.